Hello, everybody, and welcome to week April 27th through May 1st. This week, the genre that we are going to talk about is persuasive writing. So, as we always do, we're going to start off with a video.
Persuasive Writing. Episode 1. What is it? Persuasive writing is a type of opinion writing. Your opinion is what you think, feel, or believe about something. To persuade means to convince. When we persuade someone, we want to convince them of something. We can use persuasive writing for different reasons. You may want to persuade someone to believe what you believe. Or you might want to persuade someone to take action or do something. Or you might want to change someone's mind about a topic that's important to you. Persuasive writing can come in different forms. You could write a letter to someone. You can make an advertisement like a commercial or a poster. You could write an article. You could give a speech. Or you could write a review, like for a book or movie. You can use persuasive writing to convince anybody, your family, your friends, your classmates, your teachers, or even strangers. Persuasive writing is an effective way to change people's minds, much better than whining or complaining.
Okay, so we just watched a video on what persuasive texts are. We've learned that persuasive texts use facts and opinions to get readers to think or act a certain way. So if you guys are ever watching TV and there's like, let's say a commercial comes on for a toy that looks super cool, and you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I want it. Like that looks so cool. Like it can do this, it can do this. That means that that person, that commercial has persuaded you. It's getting you to act or to think in a certain way. Or sometimes when we were in school and I would say, okay, guys, it's time to clean up from recess. And y'all would be like, no, please, 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 5 more minutes. Like, we've been working so hard. And I say, okay, then that's fine. 5 more minutes. That means you guys were able to successfully persuade me. So if we read this little story right here, it says, Jan for class president. If I'm elected class president, I'll make recess longer. We need a longer recess because students spend a lot of time sitting. We need to move more. I believe having fun outside helps us think better. We'll get better grades. Vote for me if you agree. Would you vote for this person? Would you vote for Jan? I know if I was still in school, I would vote for them because, they're talking about longer recess. That sounds cool. They're talking about having fun. We're talking about getting better grades. He would definitely have my vote. But they have something highlighted in green, and then they also have something highlighted in blue. The stuff that's highlighted in green, what does it say that it is that's highlighted in green? What is that? That's a fact. And a fact is something that what? I hope you said it's something that we can prove, because a fact is something that we can prove. So it says students spend a lot of time sitting. That is true. You can prove that because of the majority of the time when you're in class, you're going to have to sit down, whether it's on the floor, whether it's at your seat at your desk, or at the small table. So you do spend a good amount of time sitting. Then in the blue, it says, I believe having fun outside helps us think better. And in the blue, it's a what? It's an opinion, which is the opposite of a fact. An opinion is how you feel. And they feel like having fun outside will help them think better. Well, everybody is not going to feel like that. So that's their opinion. Now, opinion doesn't have to be right or wrong. It's just how you feel. Now, if we come over here and we look at our anchor chart, it says that persuasive text gets reader to understand and respect the author's viewpoint. So whenever we're reading, the author, the person who's writing it, is trying to get us to understand why they're saying what they're saying. Like Jan over here, she wanted us to elect her as president because she wanted us to understand that she would give us more recess time, that we'll have to sit less, and that we'll get better grades. The author supports a viewpoint by using both facts and opinions. So facts are what can be proved, and opinions is what the author believes. So as the reader, you get to decide, do you agree or not? So if you agree, that doesn't make you right or wrong. If you don't agree, that doesn't make you right or wrong. because that's also your opinion. So if you're like, oh yeah, I'm voting for Jan, then cool. That doesn't make you right, but it doesn't make you wrong. And if your friend is like, no, I actually would rather have less recess time, then that doesn't make them right or wrong either. So now I want to, let's go ahead and go over our vocab for the story that we are going to read today. The story that we are going to read today is called Kids Can Be Big Helpers. But like always, I want to go over the vocab first before we read our story. So the first word is volunteers. And volunteers are people who do jobs without getting paid. So when it's time to clean up at the end of the day and you guys are like, ooh, can I get the broom? Can I get the broom? I don't pay you guys to help me clean up. You guys do it. You guys want to do it, but you don't get paid. I mean, maybe a little piece of candy or something, but you don't get actual money. A skill is something a person does well. So if you're really good at drawing, like I know our friend Matthew in class, he was really, really good at drawing, then that was his skill. If you're really fast at running, then that's your skill. Everybody has a different skill. Organizing, planning so things run smoothly. So we have an organized schedule. You guys come to school, you eat your breakfast, we do our reading, we do our small groups. So that's something so that it runs smoothly throughout the day, so that we're not like, oh my gosh, what are we doing next? We know exactly what's coming next. If you're going to participate in something, that means you take part or you join in. So if we're all cleaning up the litter outside and you're helping, that means you are participating, which is also like volunteering. And shelter is a home for a short time. Knowing these words will help you figure out the main argument, the facts, and the opinions in Kids Can Be Big Helpers. As you read, just think about the vocabulary words when you see them in the text, and we're going to ask ourselves, what are they telling us about ways children can help their community? Okay, so before I read the story, there's a worksheet that you guys are going to have to complete after you're done with this reading lesson. So I just wanted to go over the 3 questions that you're going to have to answer after the story, but I want to go over it before I start. That way you'll kind of have it in your mind. So number 1 is, what is the author of this persuasive text trying to convince readers? Number 2 is, why do you think the author used section headings in this text? And number 3 is, do you agree with the author's argument, why or why not? So I just want you guys to think about these for just a little while before you start reading, and then also think about this as you're reading so that when it's time to answer them at the end, you already have your answers ready. Let's go ahead and read. Kids Can Be Big Helpers, and it is by Kenneth Braswell. There are more than 320 million people living in the United States. How can so many people get along? One way is by helping each other. Every day, millions of Americans help other Americans. Many of these helpers are students. Kids can be big helpers. Since this is the first paragraph in the text, I think the author will probably tell me about the main idea or the topic. I know this is a persuasive text, so I should have an idea about his argument after I read this page. So let's think about it. The text mentions that millions of Americans help other Americans. I think the author might make an argument that I should help other people. The text mentions that millions of Americans help other Americans every day. I think this might be the topic. I wonder if the text will tell me how people help. Helping others at home and school. You see people being helpful every day. At home, family members carry groceries or help do the dishes. At school, students help teachers clean up. Students help classmates with schoolwork. I need to keep my eyes open for headings to learn more about the topic. So if you look at page 419, this page right here, do you see in this paragraph, can you point where the heading would be? Now remember, the headings are the text features that tell me what a section of text will be about. So which one of these sentences starting here to here do you think is telling me what this paragraph is going to be about? So the heading would be right here where it says helping others at home and school, and they even helped you realize it was a heading because they even made it a different color. So I see some short text at the beginning of paragraph 2, and it says helping others at home and school. Now I know what I'm going to learn about. So we're going to be learning about what? How to help others at home and school. Now, what does the heading say in this paragraph right here? Now, remember, we figured out that the heading is what's in green, and it's going to tell us what that paragraph is going to be about that we're about to read. And if you can't read it, can you point to where the heading is? Okay, so it says helping others in the community. That would be our heading. You see people helping in your community too. Some people help as part of their jobs, such as police officers. Some helpers are volunteers. A volunteer is someone who is not paid to do a job. Volunteers help to make their communities better places to live. Volunteers make a difference. Let me see if I can summarize this paragraph by retelling the information in a few sentences. So the text talks about people who help the community. Some of these people are paid, and some are volunteers. And volunteers are what? Remember, volunteers are not paid. So that seems to be the summary of this last paragraph. Let's keep moving. Volunteering and helping others makes people feel good. Grown-ups volunteer. Young people can volunteer too. Everyone should volunteer. Keep reading to find out why. So this little girl looks like she's holding a box of donations. So that's probably some clothes that maybe she can no longer fit, or maybe clothes that she just doesn't want anymore that she's donating. So instead of just throwing them in the trash, she's giving somebody else an opportunity to wear them. If we read right here, it says some job volunteers can do. Read to young children, raise money for special causes, clean up litter in outdoor areas, which we used to do, collect books or clothing for people who need them, and visit a senior center to brighten the day of an older person. So I noticed that there's a new kind of text feature on this page, and it is called a text box. Do you see the text box? So the heading of the text box, which would be this little box right here, the heading of the text box is called Some Jobs Volunteers Can Do, which tells me that the box lists some jobs for volunteers. And I remember that volunteers are people who help others and don't get paid. Volunteers do not get paid. All right, so let's keep reading. Let's move on to this page. Helping others make good citizens. Helping others is an important way to be a good citizen. Good citizens pay attention to issues or problems in their community. For example, some people might not have enough food to eat, or maybe children don't have a place to play outside. Different communities have special problems. Volunteers can work together to help in a variety of ways. So now on here, I see a new type of heading on this page. Now remember, on our last pages, our headings was in the green. But this time I see something new. Can you point to what's new on this heading? So it's right here, and it's a hand. And what's in that hand? What number? Yes, it is a hand with the number 1 on it. And it is next to the word reason, putting them together. I see that this is actually a different kind of heading that says reason 1. It tells me that the author is about to give a reason why kids can be big helpers. When people volunteer, they learn to be responsible. They take action and try to fix problems. Being responsible also means being trustworthy. So this is another one of our little boxes that we just found out about. People who are responsible show up on time, do what they say they are going to do, and stay until the job is finished. As I read, I ask myself to better understand the text. I read that volunteering helps people learn to be responsible. Why does volunteering teach kids to be responsible? I read that to be responsible, you need to show up on time and do what you say you will do. I think that as a volunteer, you must have to show up at a certain time, you have a project to do, and you have to keep going and working on it until it's finished. All right, this says reason number 2, helping others teaches useful skills. When people volunteer and help others, they learn new skills. One important skill is problem solving. Volunteers often work to solve problems. Here's an example. A group of students want to raise money for the local animal shelter. The first problem is how to raise money. The students come up with an idea of having a pet fair. Then comes the next problem, which is figuring out how to put the whole event together. First, the students ask for help from other students and from parents. Some helpers make homemade dog treats, other helpers make cat toys, other helpers make posters. They also send messages on social media. Talking to people, organizing things, and working with others are all important skills. So this must be the pet treats. These are little pet toys. She's a little superhero, so she made a little costume for her pet. Reason number 3, helping others is good for people. Believe it or not, helping others is good for your health. Experts say that helping others makes people happier. They feel good about themselves. Happy people who feel good about themselves are usually healthier. Volunteering can also make you more successful. According to one expert, students who volunteer do better in school. As I read, I keep looking for headings to learn more about the main argument. Now, the heading on this page says reason 3, helping others is good for people. As I read, I look for information that fits this heading, and I'll look for ways that helping others can be good for me too. Reason number 4. Helping others is fun. Another good reason to help others is because it can be fun. You can volunteer to do things you enjoy. You can work with friends. People often make new friends when they volunteer. Think how nice it would be to help someone and laugh with the friends all at the same time. So they look like they're having a lot of fun doing a car wash, which reminds me that it's time for me to wash my car too. Ways to help others. One way to help others is to participate in a drive. In a penny drive, students ask classmates and parents to donate or give pennies. So I don't know if you guys remember, but we do that at Johns Elementary. We have penny drives. They collect lots of pennies, and over time, those pennies add up. Then the money is donated to people who need help. A penny drive is a great way to learn about money while helping others. And how much is a penny worth? Do you guys remember? A penny is worth how much? 1 cent. I hope that's what you said. So this paragraph has a lot of information about a penny drive, and I will summarize the most important information. So basically, in a penny drive, students ask people to donate pennies, and after enough pennies are given, then students have enough money to donate to others. So when you give these pennies to Johns, we don't just keep it, we donate it to others. Many families volunteer in places such as shelters. A shelter is a place where people live and receive help while they are looking for another home. Volunteers help by preparing and serving food. Volunteers might also talk and play games with people who need a friend. When I read a persuasive text, I always try to identify what the author is trying to persuade me to think or do. In paragraph 12, which you see right here is paragraph 12, what I just read, the author is describing what a shelter is and what volunteers can do to help there. I will pay attention when I read so I understand the description the author gives. I want to learn how the author wants me to help at a shelter. You can always help your community in small ways every day. Be a good example to others. Don't litter. Clean up after yourself. Be courteous to workers such as waiters and store clerks. All of these actions are part of being a good citizen. Start helping. There are many ways kids can be big helpers. You can help out at home or at school. You can volunteer in your community. Helping others can happen almost anywhere. There are many good reasons to help other people. Not only is it good for them, but it's also good for you too. Find a way to help someone today and every day. I know this is the last page of the text, so I think the heading will help summarize the author's main argument. I see that the heading on this page says what? Start helping. It is written as though the author is talking directly to me or to you, so the heading tells me to take what I have learned and to start helping people in my life. So after what we just read, it helped us learn some ways that we can help our community. All right, so we are done with the reading lesson for this week. What I wanted to go over with you guys was one of your worksheets that you are going to have to do right after you exit out of this lesson. So it says it's a check for understanding, and you can look back at the text to answer questions. So that means you can go back and you can listen to me reread the story or kind of fast forward through the video as you need to, or if you need to access your Pearson, you should be able to access your Pearson in your apps and pull up the story. So number 1 says, what is the author of this persuasive text trying to convince the readers? So what are they trying to convince us? Remember, we were talking a lot about how we can help our community, different things that kids can do to help out in their community, to make people happier, to clean up their community. So you're just going to type me a couple of sentences on what this person is trying to convince us. Number 2 says, what do you think the author used section headings in this text? Remember, we talked about the section headings. One was a little hand that had numbers in it. The other headings were green. We even saw some some text box. So what do you think the author used these for? And then number 3, it says, do you agree with the author's argument, why or why not? So you need to make sure that you listen to the story so that you can decide if you're going to either agree with what they're saying or not agree with what they're saying. So I'm going to put this at the beginning of the video and the end of the video so that way you know what questions to look for before we start. All right, and I will see you guys next time.